Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 235 of this show, and before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning, because, well, you guys never like to do it around here, it only makes sense to do it, so let's just get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It does mean a lot to me that you guys constantly take time of days to download episodes, to show these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or not, or my opinions or not, because at the end of the day, I greatly appreciate all the feedback, because, hey, it teaches me how to be better and, well, probably tells me if you agree with me or not, which personally I don't care. Like, you're allowed to have your own opinion. That's the whole point of this, is to have an open discussion about stuff like this. Also, I do want to say thank you to the Patreon backers as well for supporting the show. You guys are greatly appreciated. And as I said before, whether you're watching this nice video version on YouTube or listening to the audio version on Spotify, podcast, or Apple Podcasts, or really like to listen to your podcast, at the end of the day, it's greatly appreciated because, let's be honest here, today's episode is a very interesting one, because this story is ever changing. So I'm preferencing this right off the bat right now. Any information shared here can and probably will change. There's more information coming out as time goes on. This is a reason why I took a little bit longer with this story, because I wanted to get at least more information, which, heck, even before recording this episode, more information is coming out, and it's just constantly shifting the narrative. It's constantly shifting, well, how we are viewing the situation. Because to be honest, going into the situation, I was skeptical to believe, the alleged side on this case, or the one who is alleging accusations in this case. But you're probably also wondering, what the heck are we talking about today? So, brief summary. We're talking about the Bayonetta 3 situation, the debacle going on. The game is about to come out. The former voice actor let me actually pull this up. I want to make sure, because like I said, a lot of the information in this story is ever changing, and this is where, like, heck, it's even like you Google search Bayonetta 3 and you literally see all of this crap, and it's like, bruh, like, it's just, oh my god. Yeah, Helena Taylor, her name in this case. If you're not familiar who Helena Taylor is, she is the original voice actor for Bayonetta in Bayonetta 1, 2, Smash Bros. And stuff like that. She is the original voice actor, or actress in this case. And the entire situation was a little couple days ago. She posted some videos on Twitter, airing the dirty laundry, breaking an NDA and things like that, explaining how she was allegedly only offered $4,000 to, reprise her role in Bayonetta 3, do the entire game and things like that, only $4,000. At first, base value sounds pretty bad. I know this is also something that should be taken in context, because we want to give full detail and context. She is a union worker. If you are not familiar with what a union is, well, it's kind of a big deal. But in this case, let's just say she's a unionized worker. She's a unionized voice actor. So she has to go by a certain rate. And it was published in a video from Young Ye. Highly recommend you look at his channel for news videos, because very informative, and he's a cool guy. Seems pretty cool. But in that video, he explains that there is an online platform, or specifically in this case, there is a website that has a PDF of all the going rates for unionized workers, especially in the voice acting realm. And it shows that the going rate lines up. If anything, she's getting paid a little bit more, because you do the math, it's around, $3,700, around that range is what she should be paid for, like, the full, like, if we go by the alleged 16 hours, which, if you're not familiar where the 16 hours is coming from, she did an interview a while back explaining how long it took her to do Bayonetta 1. It took her 16 hours, so 4-hour sessions. So you do the math in your head, you're like, okay, it seems to add up pretty, sums up pretty well, like $3,700, and she's getting paid $4K. So it's like, okay, what's the problem here? And this is where it sparked debate heavily. We had lots of debates with the community in this because people were debating. Like, okay, $4,000 sounds like slave wages for, obviously a game that is probably going to sell maybe 1.5 million copies, say $60 each copy. It's gonna do fairly well, because this is one thing we should also be mindful of, and I want you to keep this in the back of your head. Bayonetta has not been a massive seller, if we're just being transparent here. Like, this Bayonetta game, Bayonetta 3, has the high possibility of being the best-selling game in the series because everyone's very excited for it. It looks great. The gameplay looks, enjoyable. Like, people are very excited. People have been waiting for this game for a very long time, about like 8 years, because it's been 8 years since Bayonetta 2. And the fact that, well, we don't know. Some people are speculating, hey, maybe it might do 3 to 4 million copies. Some people are like, it might be lucky to even get 1 million copies sold, which would still be a victory. But the point here is people have debated how fair is that rate. She's the original voice actress. She has seniority. She's been in the industry for a long period of time. Doesn't it make sense that, hey, like, my original stance before this other information came out was that if they would have done the $4,000 and royalties, I think that would have been a much fairer offer, if I'm being honest here. I think that would have made more logical sense. But some people also argued, and they've been making this argument back and forth about this idea of voice actors and voice actresses and just how important they are. And this is where this debate kind of broadens out, because here's the other information that came out today, because at the time of recording, of course, we get new information. This new information that came out is alleging, and this is alleged information, that Platinum was going to offer her $4,000, but not just for one and done, like just 4K, that's all you get. No. Allegedly, they were offering her $4,000 per session. So, allegedly she was going to make around $15,000-$20,000, around that range, allegedly. And then Platinum is claiming, or in this case, the person that's trying to, counter Taylor's claims in this case, is saying that she tried to play hardball. She wanted around 6 figures. Platinum was like, nah, fam, we're good. Let's try to renegotiate. And then she said, hey, I'm good. And, Taylor has now come out and made a recent statement saying that this was, just Platinum trying to save face. This isn't true. I'm just trying to move past the situation, move on past the franchise. And to me, the conversation has been wild online, if I'm just being honest with you guys. Some people are blaming Taylor. They're saying that she's greedy. Some people are mad at Platinum and Nintendo for this situation. Some people are also going to be mad at Taylor because, let's be real, she also decided to name the new voice actress of Bayonetta in this case. And in many ways, I find it very disingenuous to do that. I find it, like, I'm just putting it like this. Let's just put it in layman terms. Why you gotta bring this other homie into this mess? This other chick had nothing to do with it, bro. She didn't talk smack about you. She didn't mention you once, bro. I get it. You may be a little bit salty because she's taking your role and she's like, doing autographs and things like that as Bayonetta. And like, all she said was like, look, you're not Bayonetta. I'm Bayonetta. My voice is the one that people remember. And it's like, okay, man, I get where you're coming from. You also have to understand that comes off very unprofessionally because you have no reason to mention this other person. They haven't done anything to you. They haven't said anything to you. And it's just like, it's evolved into like this conversation where YouTubers are making commentary about, oh, well, you're trying to break into the entertainment industry. Like, what do you expect was going to happen? And it's one of those things where it's like, I get where they're coming from. Like, I've said this multiple times, for people doing YouTube and things like that, I agree with this argument, which was, unless you're in the top 1% of YouTubers and things like that, you aren't necessarily going to make a comfortable living, if we're being honest here. And this is where it's been a bit interesting. Like, people have debated about this for a long period of time. They debated about like the sustainability of content creation. And then it's led into like this whole conversation about voice actors and compensation. And this is where it gets finicky, because people try to say, well, video gaming, or just video games in general, are not as profitable as, say, Hollywood. And I'm like, I call bullshit. video gaming has shown time and time again that the video game industry and video games in general is the fastest growing medium right now. Like, look at the COVID. COVID is just a prime example of how fast video games grow. And yeah, obviously the video game industry boomed heavily during the pandemic because people were locked inside, they need something to do. But just video game in general, or just gaming in general, has become a much bigger thing. It's become this bigger culturally accepted thing that it's just a larger industry that's constantly generating revenue. Like, it's shown time and time again, this thing can constantly generate billions of dollars every year in revenue. It generates more money than movies. Like, most blockbusters are not pumping, $1 billion. Let's be real here. Like, you may get a couple few here and there that break 1 million, maybe rare exceptions like Endgame and Avatar that break over 3 billion and stuff like that. Video games can do this on the regular. Like, this isn't like some brand new thing, and also they're more profitable because, let's be real, the marketing is maybe a little bit cheaper. But the fact that people make this asinine comment that essentially is trying to imply that voice actors should just, get a real job, like, suck it up, this should be your side gig, you're only talking into a microphone, boo-hoo, you're making more money than the average person does in their lifetime. And it's like, I get where you're coming from, especially if you work a 9 to 5 and you're also doing YouTube and you're making some good money off it and stuff like that. I don't think it's realistic, because who are you to judge somebody else's career choices? Like, yes, you can have your own opinion about it, that's fine. But let's not treat that your opinion should be taken as facts on how people should handle their stuff. Like, hey, if this person's making a comfortable living off this stuff, who am I to judge, homie? At the end of the day, if you're getting that bag, get that bag. That's just how this works. Who am I to judge this person and to tell them, hey, go get another job? Like, yes, we acknowledge that she has not had a acting, or in this case, she hasn't done a job since 2014. We're not saying this is good. We're not saying this is bad. These are the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we understand her circumstances, what was happening in those 8 years. Like, was she not doing anything? Like, what was she doing and things like that? Like, there are things that you should say and there's things that you shouldn't say. I don't think defending a corporation in this case is the right decision, personally. Because I've said this multiple times. Corporations don't give a rat's ass about you. They don't give a shit about you. Let's be real here. They ain't your friends, homie. At the end of the day, you bring dollar. That's all they want from you. They want that bag from you. And you want quality from them. Granted, once they have your money, they don't necessarily have to give you quality. Let's just be real here. And I think in something like this, like, we've seen this, and just further past video games, we've seen this in voice acting. It's just a major issue where voice actors are not compensated. We've seen this with, like, the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie. The voice actors, the movie made over $30 million. The voice actors were only given $150 for their role. That is abysmal. We saw this happen with, other animes, and it's like, the whole situation with the Mob Psycho, like Mob 100, like, bro, the voice actor was literally replaced because they wanted unions. They want, so that it's equal, better income and things like that. And it's like, what's wrong with that? If you voice a character, people build these emotional attachments with characters and their voices and things like that. Like, it's one of those things where it just doesn't make a lot of logical sense, because at that point you start looking like a corporate bootlicker, and if you start going down this rabbit hole of licking the corporate boot, oh yeah, you don't necessarily look the best in this case. Let's just be real here for a minute. And my personal opinion in this matter is, look, I don't think what Taylor did was good. I'm not saying that throwing I'm saying this. Throwing the other person under the bus, not cool. She had nothing to do with it. No reason to bring her in. If the allegations are true, that she was trying to hustle for 6 figures, personally, I think she was pushing it with that. I think a better offer would have been, hey, maybe if, me in the middle, 50K royalties, I think that would have been a fair offer, because let's be real, if the game sells incredibly well, you're making money off it, people can still keep buying it as time goes on, you're making money off it. So, at that point, yeah. But if it was true that they only gave her $4,000 in total, yeah, I think that's really messed up. But in general, the entire conversation should be voice actors should be treated better, because let's be real here, the video game industry is growing, and it's growing faster than Hollywood. It has shown time and time again that it can generate more money. You don't believe me? Go look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie here. The video game industry is rising. It is making tons of money. Let's be real here. It is extremely profitable. These are the objective facts here, whether it be mobile gaming, putting games on PC, putting games on console. The facts don't lie at the end of the day, homie. That's just the reality here. At the end of the day, the story is also changing. More information will come out. We just have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, this is really all the thoughts that I have because, as I said before, and I'll constantly repeat this, the story is ever changing. We have to just wait and see what happens. Is Platinum and Nintendo going to respond officially? Because let's be real, there's so much stuff going on here. There's so many moving pieces. I think that the bigger picture here is that we should be pushing for equality. We should be pushing for better pay for voice actors because we've seen time and time again that they've been abused. We've seen time and time again that they've been taken advantage of. And yeah, this isn't necessarily the best time to have a company come out and say that they're not really paying someone for their work. You should be paid fairly for your work. And this whole boycott situation, let's be real. It may work, it may not work. At the end of the day, I want you to make the decision that's best for you because I cannot make that for you. I can't just be a hate mob in this case. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Whether you agree with me, you don't agree with me, hey, you're allowed to do whatever you want. I greatly appreciate you guys for coming back and listening. I know it's been a bit of a hectic schedule, for just being honest here. So many exams, quizzes, and another little surprise that will eventually show off. But again, thank you guys for watching this episode on YouTube or listening on whatever platform you like to listen to your podcast. At the end of the day, it's greatly appreciated. Hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend. And as always, don't do anything dumb, guys. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.